Hey, what's up coders? Derek Codes here. Today we're going to be doing something really cool. We're going to be playing around with Laravel's Nova. It's their administrative portal to get your project up and running really quickly. So we're going to be installing Laravel, installing Nova on top of that, and then we're going to be running through all the tips and tricks that I've found to get your project really shining nicely. So let's dive into some code. Thanks for watching. All right, coders. What I have up here on the screen is the Laravel documentation. That's what we're going to need first and foremost to actually install Laravel. And then secondly, Nova's documentation. We're going to be then installing Nova on top of the Laravel install that we just created. So we're going to need both documentation sets up on our screen. I already have a license that I'm going to be using, so I'm going to go ahead and use that. You can do the same or do that later. I have also our environment set up. I have my database structure set up, so I don't have to do that on screen with you. So make sure you have that all already set as well, your username and password and your IP that you're going to be connecting to for your database. And then as well, I have my Apache vhost configuration already set up. So I have my admin example code set up already to show you what that looks like. My virtual host is the full path into the public folder as our document root. So we never obviously want to be serving up the root directory of our Laravel project. We're going to be always serving up that public directory. So I have everything already primed and ready to go. So let's go ahead and dive in and start installing Laravel. So I'm going to copy this composer command to actually install our Laravel project, and I'm going to call it admin example. And we're going to watch it install. Awesome. I'm going to cd in there. I'm going to look around. Everything looks good so far. But the one thing we're going to need to do is actually set up a database in the environment file before we go any further. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over and do that. Pulling up this environment file, this is where we'll want to do this. But first, before I'm going to change this to production, we're going to call this admin example. We're going to set the debug to false. Just because this is a public URL, I don't want anyone getting any information as we're debbing this out. It's going to be example admin.derekcodes.io. Where's my database? Oh, there it is right here. All right, cool. I'm going to go ahead and put in my database information. So I'm going to call it admin example, my development username, and my password, and my database. I will go ahead and do that offline. All right, now that I added my IP address and the password for my database, we should be all set up to refresh this. Perfect. And we actually get the Laravel introductory screen to the documentation. So it's perfect. It's serving up in the right location. So our Laravel project is more or less configured at this point. From here, we want to jump over to the Nova documentation and install Nova on top of Laravel. So I'm going to click on installing Nova via Composer. And you can modify your composer.json file yourself, or you can use this handy dandy little code right here to do it for you. So I'm going to choose to do it the easy way, and then run composer update after you add in Laravel Nova 4 to your composer.json file. So let's go ahead and open up composer.json and add in Nova right there. Perfect. Now we can run composer update. Awesome. Now from here, this is where you actually install your account email address and license key. So as with my password for my database, I'm going to go ahead and do that offline. Be right back. I installed my license key offline just for security purposes. Now I'm actually going to install Nova by publishing all these resources that it needs. Nice and quick and easy. And now we're going to migrate using Artisan all of the database tables that Laravel needs and also Nova. Perfect. So from here, Nova should be installed. So let's go back over to our website, and we're going to type in /Nova. And there's our login. Awesome. Only problem is we don't want it to be /Nova. We want this login to be the first thing you see when you hit the website. So from here, we're going to want to jump back over to our code editor, and from the root directory, you want to find the config folder and open up nova.php. That's the file that I have open here. And this is where you configure a lot of the different Nova settings. And from within here, search for path. And it's going to be the Nova path. You can see it says /Nova. So we're going to take that out and save the file. Now this will actually serve things up from the root of the website. So if I take out Nova, it'll just be /login. There's our login. So pretty close to what we want. Only problem is we take out login, and now we get the basic documentation of Laravel again. So let's go ahead and take that out by going into from the base root of the project here. Let's go into routes and go open up web.php. And you see this is how Laravel's serving up the basic documentation site that we're seeing on the /site. So we're going to take that out. Now Nova will take over because now the base Laravel project doesn't have any base routes. Nova will now go ahead and actually take over. So let's refresh our website here. Boom, and it automatically redirects us to the login. Perfect. So the next thing we probably want to do is change this logo, because that logo looks great, but that's not our logo for our project. So I'm going to go ahead and upload a logo that I have from a recent project that I did. And where we want to put that is within resources. Resources, and I'm going to create a new directory called images. And I'm going to upload my logo here. It's called etech-color. All right, cool. And now back in this config, I'm going to search for logo. And here's where you can update the different branding of your project. And this is where I'm going to change the logo. I'm not going to mess with the colors as of right now. That's kind of a whole nother ball of wax, because you got to choose good colors, right? That's tricky. So images is the folder we created. etech-color.svg. Awesome. Refresh that. Looks great. Cool. It's a little small, so let's take a look at that and how to change that in just a moment. But let's first try and log in. And the problem that we're going to have here is that we don't have a user in our system. So if we all remember back to a video I just did a week or so ago on Laravel and building out some different things, I gave you a little code snippet. It's up on my blog. You can take a look on the website to get this code snippet to create a new user. It's something you can use for any project in Laravel that you do, using Tinker, copy and paste it to create a user if you don't already have one to log in. Really super handy. The awesome thing about Nova, and you know this is going, they did that for you, so you don't even need this code snippet. Really, really cool. So we're going to use Artisan to create a new user, but we're not going to use PHP Artisan make:user, which you'd almost expect. It's built into Nova, and Nova has all of their own commands. So if you type PHP Artisan Nova and hit enter, it's going to give you an error that this is not an appropriate action, but it'll list out all the different actions that are allowed for this command, and one of them is :user. So that's the one that we want. PHP Artisan Nova user. Hit enter, and it's going to prompt you for the name, email address, and password of the user you want to create. I don't know why this is not built into Tinker and base Laravel already. Super, super handy when you're just starting to build out your project from the beginning. So let's go ahead and add our user. My name is Derek Codes. My email address is derek@derekcodes.io. I'm going to put in a semi-secure password here. Cool, user created. Now let's jump back over to our website and go ahead and log in. Boom, beautiful, perfect. So the one thing I mentioned earlier was the logo, right? That's what we were trying to get at. I wanted to show you something. So it has the logo the same size here as it does. It might be a little bit smaller, I'm not sure, but it looks close enough, right? As the login and on here. So the one thing that you can do is you can hack the logo SVG that you upload to be larger. But the problem is, if you make it larger, it'll be larger here too, and it'll overwrite the bounds. Let me show you what I mean. I'm gonna jump over to Nova, and I'm going to go to Resources, Images, and eTech Color. All right, so from in here, this is just HTML, right? This is basic stuff. So I can actually add a style tag in here. This is the big Nova 4.0 hack. Because old Nova 3.0, which I was super familiar with, they actually allowed you to make a lot of these changes yourself using the logo blade template that they had and some styles. But they changed that. They removed it. They don't want you messing with the front end code. You can add your own style sheet actually on that note to the admin area, which a lot of people start doing to modify the logo. But the problem is that because, and I've looked into the code to try and figure out a different way to do it, you can't add that style sheet to the login. They've really locked down the login, so you can't add your own style sheet without hacking their blade templates or their framework of code that they've built out already. So I wouldn't recommend that, because even though it's easy to do and easy to change, anytime you update Nova and publish, the blade templates, which they make updates, like probably once a month, you're gonna have to change your settings yet again. So if you want to allow a certain style sheet or whatever on the login, you can do that. You can hack it, but you're gonna have to do it over and over and over again. So I don't recommend it. I love this way. So here's my method. Here's our logo. I'm gonna add an ID on here. Make sure it's something really unique, like my logo. That's probably not used in here. So let's use my logo and the ID of my logo in the style sheet. And we're gonna say the height is 4 rems. And I know another big no-no in CSS world is making this important, making this override any other rules that hit it. The problem is our hands are kind of tied here, so I'm gonna break the rules. I'm gonna put an important here to override the other styles because we can't modify them. So I think that's fair. So as you can see, it's too big. But let's log out. Looks great. That's exactly the size we want. That looks perfect. Well, here's my hack to make it work on the login and then also in the admin area. So I'm gonna go ahead and highlight my logo here, and there's this div tag that's right above the SVG. I'm gonna grab all those classes and I'm gonna throw them in here. And all these classes are on the same div tag, so you're gonna wanna kind of concatenate those together with just a dot. And our last tag here, the my logo, we have a space in between there. So we're saying this logo on the login screen, because it has these classes right above it, that's the one we're targeting. We're gonna make it 4 rems. So let's go ahead and see if that works. Perfect. Still nice and large. Let's go ahead and log in. Awesome. And it's the correct size in the admin area. That's perfect. Now this unregistered, don't worry about that. That's just on the development side of things. Let me show you in the docs how you get rid of that. There it is. Verifying your Nova license key configuration. So what you want to do is actually just copy and paste this. But before we run this command, we'll want to add our license to the Nova configuration file. So yeah, we get an error when we paste that in, that the Nova configuration file doesn't know what our license is. So let's go ahead and do that. It's right down here. I'm at the bottom of my environment file. Going over to the nova.php script, you'll have to go to the very top and copy this line here, Nova license key. And we're gonna paste this in at the bottom. And so this is where you'd put actually in your license key. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that offline and I'll be right back to show you what that looks like. All right, so I added my license key to my environment file, and I'm going to go ahead and run this command again. Check license. Awesome. Gives us a green thumbs up that our license is correct. So let's go back over to our website and check out what this looks like after we refresh. All right, so as you can see, I had the unregistered error in the top left-hand corner of my screen, even though I was using the check license tool, and it still wasn't clearing. So what I ended up having to do was via the command console here, I did PHP artisan Nova check license. Validated my license, but it still didn't update. So what I actually had to do was clear the cache using cache clear. The other thing you can do other than cache clear is optimize clear. Optimize is a great caching command line tool that Laravel gives us to cache not only the views and the routes and things like that, so, and the environment configuration. So if you ever run optimize, I don't recommend that during dev because you're gonna be clearing it a lot. You can run this PHP clear optimize, and it'll clear everything, your views, your cache, your route, your configuration, everything that you put in there. And then jumped over here and it seemed to update it perfectly. So awesome. So the next thing that I've had to do in the past is kind of get rid of some of the other things here in Nova that you're just not going to use, or you may not use, I should say. Like the switching of the light and dark mode, that's something you can actually remove really easily. This notifications window here, that's something that in the last couple projects I used Nova, I actually didn't use that. So I actually turned that feature off. And let me go ahead and show you where that is in the docs. So I'm under installation here and customization. Oh, where is it? Notifications, disabling notifications, here it is. All right, cool. So we're gonna copy this line of code right here, disabling the notifications. And what we're gonna do is put this in the Nova service provider. So under app, providers, Nova service provider. All right, so it's gonna paste this right in here. Jump back over to our admin area, and boom, the notifications is gone. Cool. And as you can see, when you're clicking around here, it's going to list the users that we created. We just created the one. You can view it, you can edit it. Super, super easy, super awesome. Now, creating your resources from here is what you'd probably want to do. Any migrations, let's say, if you're going to, set up, orders or a blog or whatever you're doing. Obviously, whatever project you're building, obviously you'd be set from here, and we'll go over that more in detail in our next videos. But the next thing I wanted to show you was changing the footer. This is something I always do because even though Laravel and Nova is awesome and the guys who built it, super cool guys, really grateful for all their hard work. Whenever I'm building a project, let's be honest, we want the business to come back to us. We want them to see our name at the bottom in the footer, or sometimes the client will require it to be their information, the copyright that they provided at the bottom. So let's dive into that, see what that looks like. So as I always say, let's jump over to our documentation and check out where this is. From the search at the very top, you can just search for footer, and it'll bring up the customization section that we've been living in through this entire video, and it gives you the code snippet that you'll need to override the default footer with your own. I've already created my own code snippet, so I'm going to go ahead and paste that in and show you what that looks like here. So we're defining the Nova footer, encapsulating with a function, and returning a blade rendered template with the HTML. Now before we go and take a look at that, we did add a new class here that we're going to have to add to our namespace. So let's go ahead and copy that as well. Perfect, I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and try that. Awesome, that looks great. Cool, check out our footer. So it's copyright Derek Codes 2022, derekcodes.io. It's awesome, just what we wanted. Awesome, this was a lot of fun. I hope everybody learned a lot, got some good tips and tricks along the way to build out your Nova. Check out some of my next videos. We're jumping into customizing the dashboard to actually build out some of your own metrics. It's gonna be really cool. There's some default ones in there that give you a lot of power, but we're gonna be actually building out some of our own. So stay tuned, it's gonna be awesome. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you liked it. Be sure to comment below with any questions you have, ideas for my next video, or anything else that's on your mind. Also, like and subscribe and click the bell icon to get alerted of my next episode. Until next time, keep coding, everyone.